Well, good morning and Happy New Year, YouTube. All right, guys, for the new year, 2025, as you can see, I spent a little bit of time cleaning up this section of the shop. Now, I did not go through the entire place. It's still pretty ugly over there, but I wanted one room that when we're filming the motorcycle content here in the shop, had a decent looking background. So I spent a few days painting it, cleaning it up, decorating it, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. Let me know what you think down in the comments. But enough about that. Today's video, we're talking handlebars. We're going to do a handlebar upgrade on Dr. Evil. And I honestly don't know that we can call it an upgrade, but we are gonna make a change. Now, there are a lot of choices out there for handlebars. And the one thing about the new 2024 Road Glide is they came out with a decent set of bars right from the factory. And up until this point, I've been pretty happy with it. But I do intend to change them. With us going the performance bagger route, I wanted something with a little less deflection, a little bit more solid. There's a lot of choices out there. You've got companies like Kraus, Thrash and Supply, and there's others as well. Nice T-bar setups, or even like the mid-rise type handlebars. A lot of different options, which is probably the route I'm going to go someday. In fact, there is a company called Iron Hold. They were out at Sturgis with us, and they want to build me a custom set of handlebars for this bike that nobody else in the world has. I think that would be really cool. But before going that route, I need to know exactly where I want my bars, how I want them positioned. There's a lot there, because if they build a custom set, there's really no going back. Now, the bars that came stock on the 24 Road Glide, you see are kind of an ape hanger type style, but they're really not all that tall, but they were way better than the bars of the previous models. And the bars that we're gonna put on it today are actually another set of OEM bar assemblies, but not from this motorcycle. So what we're going with today is a set of OEM bars from Harley Davidson, but these bars came off of the CVO ST model for 2024. So a little bit different. The bars are shorter, the risers are taller. This changes the adjustability points, and I think it's gonna rigid things up a little bit, and we're just gonna see if we like it. Like I said, this is not likely going to be my final set of handlebars on Dr. Evil, but in the interest of experimentation, I wanted to give these a try and see how they are. Now, I came across these because one of our subscribers, husband and wife, they come out and see us in Ocean City every year, and I think they come out to a couple other shows as well. Really great people, and I'm so terrible right now, their names completely escape me. But when we were in Ocean City, he decided to put a different set of handlebars on his CVO ST, so he brought me these bars and risers over so that I can play with them on my bike. So I've got no money into this whatsoever. We're gonna do this trade just so that we can learn whether there's a difference or not, whether it's significant or not, and whether I like it or not. And the nice thing about the 2024 Road Glides is everything is right there. This should be a very simple install. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and put Dr. Evil up on this empty lift, do the install. But before we do that, the bolts that go through the bottom of the triple tree into the bottom of the risers, those bolts are kind of difficult to get to without being able to turn the handlebar. So I'm at least gonna get in there and break those loose first, and then I'll put it on the lift, do the rest there. All right, so I was able to reach up there and break those two loose. So now you see the handlebars are quite flimsy. Now, the one on the left side of the motorcycle was pretty easy to get to. Turn the handlebar to the far right. You can get to it clear as day. I just used 3/4 socket with a long extension, did everything I needed to do. However, the right side was more challenging because when you turn the handlebar all the way to get access to the bolt, there is a wire harness attached to the frame right below it. Made it more challenging. I actually ended up using a box end wrench, able to break it loose. Now, as I said, I didn't take them all the way out because I don't want anything to fall apart while I disassemble this. I just wanted to get it broke loose so I didn't have to fight with it later. So now I think I will remove the nacelle, get that out of the way to give us access to everything else down there. Should be pretty easy. There's just a 3/8 bolt on both sides. Got the one fastener there. You pop off this cover. There are 2 bolts right below it. So I'll use a plastic pry tool just to pop this up. That way I don't scratch that beautiful paint job that Paul over the Fairing Exchange did for me. All right, with that out of the way, leaves us access to the 2 Phillips screws just below. And the plastic screw up here on the top, same thing, just gently back it out. And then you should be able to pull it all as one piece. And the 3/8 ratchet wrench comes in really handy for getting the bolts out of the side of the nacelle. Not the best ratchet wrench, but it works. Now with all the fasteners removed, we should just be able to grab the two halves of the nacelle and gently pull them apart. There's just a couple clips holding them together now. All right, hindsight being 2020, the nacelle would have been much easier to take off on the ground as well because there wasn't enough clearance between it and the inner fairing to remove them. So I had to jack the bike up, turn the handlebar, and remove them. So do that before you put it on the lift. But as you can see, I managed to get it out. So at this point, before going any further, we're gonna get some protection on the motorcycle so we don't scratch anything. All right, with all the protection in place, we're gonna come in here and unplug all of these connections. I've looked at them and every single connection is different. So we don't need to mark them. They can only go back together one way. There is also a ground right there that we'll have to undo. And there is a bolt holding the clutch cable on. And on this side, there's another fastener for the brake line and cables coming down this way. All right, so it was the 5/16 bolt that got the ground wire done. And the two bolts that held the brake line retainer and the clutch cable retainer were both T27s. It looks like we also need a T27 to remove the levers so we can get to the switch housings. All right, so unplug the clutch switch and those two T27s, and now the clutch lever and mirror assembly can just hang. And the switch assembly is loose. We'll have to disassemble it by taking out the bolts on the backside. All right, T20s to take off the back of the switch housing cover. And what's really nice is the screws don't fall out. They stay in there, so you don't risk losing them. So now it looks like we're gonna unplug this switch. And then if we take out these two screws here, this piece should come off, allowing us to slide this off of the bar. Actually, if we just unplug that, it might slide all the way off. Let's try it. With that undone, slides right off. Now we're gonna repeat the same procedure for the right side. Now I do also have my quad lock on here that we're gonna have to undo and transfer them over to the new bars as well. All right, same thing here on the throttle side. Unhook the brake switch, and then you can take the lever off and let it hang. And then there were two more plugs in here. One went here, one went here, and then now the whole throttle assembly can just slide right off the bar. All right, so at this point, there was nothing holding the bars on except for loosening up the top clamp. We should be able to pull them all the way off. All right, these are all 1/4 inch. I've already broken them loose, so that shouldn't take much to get them out the rest of the way. All right. There we go. And now the bars are off. We should just be able to fish those wires through the hole. All right, all that's left on the motorcycle is just the riser setup. And with those bolts loosened, I should be able to reach underneath there and spin them off and take this right out. All right, slight change of plans. The way the frame is designed on this bike, I still can't get to those bolts, even though I've got them broken loose already. So we got to looking at it, and there's this plastic clip right up here that the wires went on, and it just popped onto the top clamp. Got the one extra ground wire, the center bolt into the stem, and then the 3 pinch bolts that hold the top clamp on. So I loosened all that up, and it looks like I can just pop the top clamp off. Should make it a lot easier. So yeah, just pulled it right off. Now, I don't know where it came from, but as I pulled it off, my hand got wet. Something under here was wet, which is weird because this bike has not seen any rain or water in well over a month. But anyway, there's the bottom bolts we can get to, and we swap out those risers. All right, so I got the riser off. Now the only thing left to do was fish the wires out of the old bars, and disassembly is completely done. All right, here you can clearly see the difference between the two bars. These are the factory bars, the factory riser, compared to the ST risers and the ST bars. All right, so now I'm gonna focus putting the ST risers back onto the top clamp. They both look identical. I don't see the difference from left to right. All the bolt holes, everything are in the same place. And then I'll fish the wires through the ST bars. That way, when we go to reassemble, all that stuff is done. We can just put it all back together. Now, we are gonna put some fresh red Loctite on these, and then I'm gonna go look up the torque spec because I don't know what it is top of my head. Now, we are going to reuse the original top clamp for the bars, and I'm gonna go ahead and get them lined up and threaded in before I tighten up these risers a little bit. I'll leave them a little bit loose so that I can make final adjustments when I put the bars on, but I wanna make sure they're at least close to being lined up. So we're gonna put this on temporarily. Well, Houston, we have a problem. I'm glad I decided to do that because look, they don't line up. Not even close. Now, all the research I had done looked like the fitment was going to be the same. In fact, if you look at the bars themselves, the traction area where the clamps grip the bars are in the same place. Up front, we have the ST bars. In the back, we have the regular Road Glide bars. And, well, yeah, there's definitely some differences there that I didn't count on. So reviewing my options, I can decide to just put it all back the way it was, but I really want to try this new set of bars. I even considered I could cut my top clamp and just put it on as two separate pieces. It would do the same thing as most aftermarket riser bar setups work. But I don't think I can do that either. One, it's not going to line up. It's not going to look good. Here you can get a better idea of how far off this is. I mean, that's 2 inches. And even if I were to cut this and separate it, well, it's not going to line up good here, which looks terrible. And believe it or not, these bolt holes are just a tiny bit off. Like I've got this one threaded good. This one is binding because the hole is almost there, but not quite. It's just enough off that it doesn't want to work. So, down to 2 options. Either I put it back the way I found it, or I go order an ST top clamp. Let me look it up. All right, so much for not having any money into this. I've ordered the part. It'll be here in a few days. So we'll come back to it as soon as I get it. Well, you know, I blame no one but myself. When I started this project, I didn't realize that the Road Glide Standard had a 1-piece riser set up. I thought it was 2 individual risers, just like the ST, and that the top cap would be the same. I was wrong. All right, guys, back in the office reviewing the footage, and I think I make a decision. We're going to make this a part 1 to this video, and we will finish part 2 when the part comes in. Only because it can take more than a week for that part to come in, and this was supposed to be the Happy New Year's video, the new shop, the debut, and I really don't want to wait to put this video out. So typically, a handlebar install wouldn't require 2 videos, a part 1, part 2, with something as simple as this. Had I planned it better and known that I didn't have the right part, it would have been, you know, a 20-minute video. But with the footage of the shop reconditioning in there, you know, we've got over 20 minutes of footage, so I think we're going to leave it at that. So there's plenty of other projects I can do to make other videos until that part comes in. I got a few other parts for the bike that maybe I can take care of. So anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And until the next time I see you, keep those engines running and tell me what you think about the new shop setup. Good night.